All right, move this out of the way. I'll knock over my coffee. It's very important. All right. Salsa here. Hollandaise is one of the 5 other sauces. It's a little different because it's not thickened with a roux, and it's not made from stock. It's made from egg yolks and butter. So the best way I try to describe it, it's like warm mayonnaise. No, that doesn't sound great. But have you ever had eggs Benedicts before, like at breakfast? Hollandaise is the sauce that usually goes on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better than it sounds. Trying to sell somebody on hot mayonnaise isn't easy. All right. Chat in case people have questions. Right. First thing I gotta do is get my water hot. Don't need this right now. Do this other way. Get my pipe here. See. Switch this up. Here, got about 12 tablespoons of butter. It's about a stick and a half. So when you are trying to measure your butter out in the kitchen, because everyone's going to do the same recipe I'm doing today, that big block of butter is 4 sticks of butter. So if this is this block of butter, and you cut it in half this way, turn it, cut in half, you'll end up with 4 sticks. Then just get a stick and a half from that. 3 eggs, which I got to get the egg yolks from. What's this? 1/4 teaspoon sugar, 1/2 teaspoon salt, about 2 teaspoons lemon juice, 1/8 of a teaspoon cayenne pepper, and about 2 teaspoons water. I think I got a little extra water. Sometimes if it thickens up a little too much, I like to add a little water to it to thin it back out. Let me start with my eggs. So I need to get my water up to a simmer, and I'm going to turn it back down just enough to kind of heat this bowl up. Remember back when we were making our desserts and we were making custards and we had to temper the egg yolks? That's kind of what we're doing here. The egg yolks are going to be the thickener instead of a roux, and we're going to have butter pretty much be the liquid for our sauce. So the butter sauce. Also, another teacher who raises chickens brought in like 3 dozen eggs from his farm at his house. And all the eggs are like different colors. There's like yellow, green, and blue eggs. So if you want to use some of those, just see what they taste like, you can. So we got eggs here. Egg whites I'm done with. I don't need those. Go over here. The next part. Yeah, I'll take my egg yolks, a little bit of the water, so I'm going to add half of it to start. I'll save that half just in case. So all I really need is a whisk. And off the heat, just going to whisk these up so they start to get a little lighter in color. Just like with whipping egg whites, we can cheat. You could do all this in a blender too, but we're going to do it by hand. This is more fun. I'm trying to introduce air, introduce some water, thin the egg yolks out a little bit. Just them up for a minute or so. Until they start to thin out. This should be good. Grab my recipe, just make sure I'm not screwing anything up. I don't make hollandaise a lot. Usually just when I'm doing brunch, that's pretty much it. It's also pairs really well with like asparagus. You see that a lot too. And then from our hollandaise, we can make a bunch of different sauces. Like béarnaise is a traditional steak sauce made with hollandaise, but then we take white wine, shallots, cook them down, reduce it from like this much liquid to this much liquid, add fresh tarragon, and then incorporate that into the hollandaise. There's also soft Chiron, which is hollandaise, and then you just add a little tomato paste to it. So you get like almost like an orange colored sauce to it. It goes really good with fish. Hollandaise goes really well with fish too.
Hey, chef.
Yes.
People are waiting to get in, they said.
Oh, well, they're annoying. They should be in the building. It's their fault. No, Teams isn't working right. It says I have nobody in the lobby.
Okay, I'll tell.
Yeah, we're having a lot of issues with Teams. I sent you and Mary an email. I'm recording this, and then I'll post it on It's Learning. Just Teams isn't working right today. Neither is It's Learning, but the county's trying to fix it.
Okay.
So let them know I am recording the lesson, and then I'll post it to It's Learning as soon as I'm done. Here. Okay, next I gotta add my sugar. Are you sugar or salt? Damn it, I forget. You look like salt. No, you're salt. You're sugar. God damn it, I forget. Let's taste it. So many tasting spoons. Just give me my tasting spoon. Oh, you're salt. Okay. I should figure that out. Yeah. All right. All right, add my sugar. Whisk another 30 seconds or so. Water's hot, so I don't need it boiling. I just need enough to make steam. And I don't want to overheat this. Just like when we were making the custard, I want to slowly raise the temp of the eggs. Instead of getting it too hot too fast, because then we'll just end up with scrambled eggs. I don't want that too much. I'll move the pot back on camera. Seems like I gotta make this taller. And I broke it. Okay. It's not broken. I don't think. That should be fine. All right. Here, I want to use a towel too, just keep my hand from burning. So right over the pot, I'm trying to keep the eggs down the bottom. I'll start to whisk this up. And I need to whisk constantly for about 3 minutes or so. What I'm looking for is, if you can see when I drag my whisk across, if I do that in the bowl, the egg should be thickened up enough so that way when I drag my whisk, I should see a line in the bottom of the bowl. That's usually how I know I'm ready. So not too different from making the custards to start. Just slowly heating the egg yolks up. If you feel like it's getting too hot too fast, just take the bowl off the heat, start whisking. So it looks like, yeah. Then you can put it back on for a minute, one off, one on. That way we're not heating it up too fast. Trying to make sure I'm getting the sides of the bowl so there's nothing scrambles and sticks to the side. Sorry, nothing really too exciting to report right now. So I had another babysitter quit. Does anybody have an older sibling that wants to babysit my kids? Older sibling who can drive.
Why'd they quit this time?
Their car broke down. That's what they told us, but I think they just don't like my kids, which I get. I don't like my kids either.
You're supposed to love them.
I love them. Doesn't mean I like them, because they're terrible people. Like, I love all of you. I don't like any of you.
Oh,
We wouldn't hang out outside of school.
that's normal. That's really.
Don't take it personally. I don't have any friends. When you get older, you stop having friends, or as many.
Cool.
It has its perks. It's cheaper at Christmas time. Don't have to buy as much stuff. Alright. I'm scrambling a little bit on the side. Make sure I don't overcook it. Get one off the heat, on off, on off. On the bowl. I can still hold it in my hand so I know the bowl is not too hot. My egg yolk shouldn't be too hot. Looks like we're getting there. It's starting to thick up. It's hard to tell, but it's changing color a little bit. Just the lighting's really bad on the camera. But it was a dark yellow, so it's starting to turn into a pale yellow, which is what we're going for. And it's starting to thicken up. It's not quite there. We're almost there. The way you could tell is if it coats the back of a spoon. I don't have a spoon. I have a melon baller. Let me use it. Alright. It's hard to tell because it's all foam because I'm whisking. But it should coat charred the line, just like with our sauces. So I feel like we're getting pretty close. As long as I'm constantly whisking, I shouldn't burn it. Just want to make sure I'm getting the sides of the bowl. I can see some yolks are starting to cook on the side there. I don't know if I'm almost to the point where I'm dragging my whisk. I can see the bottom of the bowl.
You're gonna keep the holidays here or take it home?
Hollandaise does not hold very long. That's the one downside to this sauce is once I get it off the heat, when I'm finished cooking, it's butter, so if it sits at room temperature, it's going to turn back into a brick. Like the butter's going to solidify again, and it's almost impossible to reheat it again after that. And if I try to hold it on the hot line, it's going to be too hot and it's going to break. So you have like a very limited amount of time you can use it. The one trick to keeping hollandaise is because you don't want it too hot and you don't want it too cold. So right after we're done making it in a restaurant, I would put it like into like a coffee thermos or some sort of insulated pot, like the cups you guys bring to school, because then it traps the heat in it so it doesn't get too hot. It just kind of stays the same temperature. So if you keep it in like a coffee mug with a lid or a thermos or something like that, it should hold pretty well. All right, so this should be good. I can see the bottom when I whisk it. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. Get a towel here for my bowl. So I'm going to take this off the heat now. Put here. And I'll start adding some of my other ingredients. So the towel's just there to kind of help me hold the bowl still so I don't need two hands to hold it. So as I'm whisking, I can go grab other stuff. Grab my gloves. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible so the butter doesn't melt too much or butter doesn't get too hot. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, now the next part is adding our butter. So I have the butter here. I'm just going to start adding one piece of butter, or maybe two. at a time. Kind of like when we were making vinaigrettes. I want to try to emulsify the fat. And with the egg yolks, so egg yolks are an emulsifier. That's how we make Caesar dressing, right? It's with egg yolks. So I want to try to emulsify the fat into the yolk. So I want to do that by adding a couple pieces at a time. A lot of times you can do this with clarified butter instead of whole butter. I just like using the whole butter because it's just one less step I have to do, so I don't have to clarify it. The clarified butter makes for better hollandaise. I'm just getting a little lazy. It's the fourth quarter. I'm running out of steam. I'm sure you all are too. And if it feels like it's getting too cool, and you'll start to see the sauce as we add the butter. If it's not melting anymore, or it's starting to thicken up, I can just put it back over the pot of water. So the water's off, just has a little bit of steam to kind of heat it up a little bit. Just like we were doing before with whisking the eggs, I can take my butter and a couple pieces at a time, whisk it. And the residual heat from the pot of water will help to melt my butter. If it gets too hot, it'll start to end up into a big gloppy mess. So it's something we can't really rush through. We're gonna have to take our time. If you wanted to do a blender to make this, you could. I would still do the egg yolks in a bowl like I did. And then once your egg yolks are tempered, you could put some the egg yolks, lemon juice, salt, cayenne in a blender, start to blend it up, and then drizzle in your clarified butter. There you go. Set them up. A couple more cubes of butter. Also, I don't want to add too much butter at once because the butter's still cold too, so if I add too much, it's going to like make the egg yolks too cold, so I want to lump up again. Also, if it looks like it's getting too thick, what you can do is, good morning. So I left a little bit of water on the side too, so if it starts to look like it's thickening up too much, I can add some water. I'm also going to add the lemon juice. That'll thin it out a bit at the end. But if you need to like get it hot, you could always like grab a spoon, take a little bit of water from your pot, and add it in. So that way it'll kind of help to melt the butter a little bit, bring everything back up to temp, and thin out your sauce. Again, the next clump of butter. It's going to take a little bit of time. That's why this is the only way we're doing. It's not too hard making hollandaise. It's a little tricky just with the tempering of the yolks. And then when we add the butter, if you do try to rush it too fast, the sauce is either going to seize up because it's going to get too cold, or you're not going to emulsify your butter enough, and it's going to end up like a big greasy mess in the bowl. So the steps aren't too complicated. It's just a matter of being patient. So we put a lot of time into this, and we don't want to break it. If it does look like the sauce is starting to break a little too much, like it's starting to get shiny, and you see streaks of fat on the top, that would be a good time to add a little bit of hot water, or maybe even a little bit of your lemon juice. It'll kind of emulsify everything back together again. So on and off the heat, on and off. Yeah, this is the same way we make mayonnaise too. We just use oil instead of butter. So when that cools down to room temperature, the oil doesn't seize back up like animal fat. So it's still using the egg yolks, lemon juice, fat, salt. And that's how you make mayonnaise. So it's pretty much the same thing, just a warmer version. There, a little more fat. Let's see, it's starting to get too cool, so pop it back on the heat. It's thickening up too, so I'll probably add a little bit of hot water. Do it in a minute. If it does break, and you see like it's not emulsifying anymore, and the egg yolks are starting to separate from the butter, just like we did with the roux, we could start over. start making a new hollandaise, and then take the broken one, whisk it back into the new one, and it should come back together. Right now I can see some chunks of butter, so I know it's a little too cold. A little bit more water. Just a little splash of hot water to melt the butter, bring it all back together. Alright, that's there. About 2/3 of the way. Usually in a restaurant I wouldn't make like this small of batch. You can imagine how long it would take me to make a big batch of this. That's why I would do it in a blender. So when you go in to do your lab today, besides measuring out your ingredients, getting your mise en place together, make sure we'll get a burner hot with some water, whisk, a couple bowls, you should be good to go. Clarified butter helps you to add a little faster too. I feel like I got a good emulsion going, so I'm gonna start adding my butter a little faster. So I'm whisking, it's not breaking, it's not too shiny, I'm not seeing any streaks of oil. So I feel like it's got enough of an emulsion in there I can start adding a little faster. The pot's cooled down enough that it's not too hot, it's not gonna damage my egg yolks or anything. I can kind of just keep my bowl here just to help me melt the butter a little faster. Yeah, a little different than the other sauces we made. Like the velouté bechamel. This one just requires time and attention. That's good. Almost there.
What you making?
Hollandaise.
Oh, okay. And then you're making us eggs Benedict, is that what I heard?
I think we're fresh out of Canadian bacon. And the other one. English muffins.
I mean, I can run this.
Good. All right, last bit of butter.
Do we have real bacon?
What was that?
Do we have real bacon?
We do have real bacon. Yeah, last restaurant I worked in, we had to do this every Sunday for brunch. I hated it. Everybody hates working the brunch shift. So usually they're on Saturday night. Get done at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I gotta come back in early the next day to set up for brunch. Which is annoying. So we'll do eggs, we'll do like crab eggs benedicts. We'll do this, I'll add Old Bay to the Hollandaise. And then we'll do poached egg, Canadian bacon, top it with some warm crab meat, and then add the Old Bay Hollandaise over top. All right, it's emulsified, shiny, no streaks, so it doesn't look like it's going to break or anything. Add a little bit more of my water just to kind of bring it together, help with the emulsification. And from here, I can start adding my other ingredients. So I'm going to add my lemon juice. It's about 2 teaspoons roughly. Lemon juice helps add some acidity because really all it is fat. It's egg yolks and butter. So we need a little bit of acid to cut through it. So about 2 teaspoons of the lemon juice. So as I add this, it's going to thin out a little bit. It's changing color a little bit. Oh. I'm going to add some salt. There's just really no seasoning in there. So, what's this? Half teaspoon of salt, I think. You'll see it's on your recipe. I think it was half a teaspoon of salt. Take off the heat now. Ugh. That's it. It's too late. All right. That's what's in there. Salt. A bit more salt, sugar, lemon juice, a little bit of water, and then the last part is cayenne. Give a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. So that's just 1/8 of a teaspoon, so it's not a ton. Good enough to kind of wake it up a little bit. All right. That's about the consistency I want. Try to move this away so you can see a little better. So it's not too thick, not too thin. Should coat back to a spoon. Does. We're good there. I'll season the taste. So from here, I would want to use this pretty much right away. Again, if you don't want to, if you're making it ahead of time and are trying to keep it, like if you're doing a brunch service and you got to make a bunch of hollandaise for eggs benedict, keep it in a thermos. Just open the lid when you need it, pour it in, close the lid back up. And you should be good. If it starts to thicken up on you, just add a little bit of hot water to it. It'll loosen it back up. But hollandaise, yeah, this is something I can't like keep and refrigerate and use again. It just doesn't work. You would have to make new hollandaise, and you could take the old hollandaise and add it back to it. But really, this is kind of like a one and done type of sauce. That's it. All right. There's hollandaise. Put that over here. Should probably taste it. That. This out of the way. And I want to do one more thing while we're all here. This is good. Decent. Yeah, it looks like the right consistency. Maybe a little thin. Tastes right. Should be good. Put that over here. So that's probably gonna congeal up. Work on that. Get some stuff out of the way here. Move on to round two. So while we were doing butter, try to warm up my butter a little bit. So we can do a couple different sauces with butter. So another one is kind of a sauce, but not really. We still classify it as a sauce. So we're going to make a compound butter. Stretch this. I'm not sure if over it die. Yeah, that's it. Let's move this over a little bit. You might not be able to see it. Alright. Alright. This back over. So compound butters are cool because it's a great way to utilize some leftovers if you have in the kitchen. Usually when we're in restaurant operations, like when we get to like winter break, we end up making compound butter with all the leftover herbs that we have because we're trying to use them up and trying to keep them out of the trash can. So you can take a bunch of leftovers, add some parsley, with some dry basil from landscaping downstairs. They had some extra dry basil, so they gave it to us. Cilantro, use whatever herbs I have on hand. Some green onion. Pretty much flavor however you want. That's good. Over here. So I really don't want the butter melted. I kind of want it softened because I'm going to try to blend up the Roboku. So I got some garlic, lemon zest, whatever's on hand. You can make compound butter 100 different ways and flavor it with whatever you want. So I'm just doing herb and lemon compound butter. A little bit of garlic. I'll throw some red onion in there because I have it. Okay. So then rosemary. Put at the top. Pull down. I'll keep the stem out, especially rosemary. It's like a tree branch. Can't really chew that. And some thyme here, might as well throw it in. Thyme, same thing. Just kind of go down. Hold the stem. Pull the leaves off. So yeah, when we're getting close to break and we know we're not going to use anything and stuff's going to go bad, we can make a bunch of different types of compound butter, freeze it, and use it later. That's in there. Some onion, just because I had it in the walk-in, so I might as well use it before it goes bad. Definitely not going to eat all of it. Knife cuts don't need to be perfect because it's going in the Roboku. Let's add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. It'll just help to like kind of blend everything up. Butter. butter melts a little bit, that melted fast. For the most part, the rest of it should be softened up enough. Start pouring this up. What I can do is pop on the lid. Start to pulse it a couple times. It looks like it's all kind of mixed up. It should be pretty good. And season it with some salt and pepper, which of course I don't have out. That's we don't need to season with salt and pepper. And I end up with a big gloppy mess. What I'm gonna do, I could just put it in a container and kind of scoop it out with a tablespoon. And then like use it to finish sauces. Remember we said like when we're making a pan sauce, we mount the pan sauce with some butter at the very end to get it nice and shiny. So you could mount it with some compound butter at the end. It's really great topping it on a piece of chicken or fish or something like that. I'll show you how we're going to do that in a second. So to make it look a little bit more interesting, put it in some plastic wrap. Now let's put this. I got a spatula, so I'll just use my hands. We got a lot of stuff. Take my butter mixture right on some plastic wrap and try to get it into a cylinder shape. So I might need a couple extra sheets of plastic wrap. This. Fold it over, I grab it from the other side. And I'm going to try not to wrap it all the way up like a burrito, because then I'm going to take this out of the plastic wrap. When I go to cut it, sometimes I'll end up with like bits of plastic in the middle of it, which we don't want. So that's why I'm trying to fold it all the way over and then kind of push it. So now there's no plastic in the middle of it, it's all on the outside. To get there, and I can fold it over. I'll take one end, tie a knot, and good. Knot on one side. Yep. Make sure I got enough on the other side. Tie that up so the butter doesn't come out. So now it's starting to end up in a cylinder shape. So it needs to be wrapped up a little tighter for it to hold its shape. So I'll put another piece of plastic down. Let's put this in the middle. This one I can start to wrap up tight. And the reason I'm doing it in the cylinder is because I'll refrigerate it once it's done. And then when it's chilled back and it solidifies again, I can go ahead and cut it into like these little circle shapes. It looks cool on top of a dish. So it's kind of like butter sausage, what it looks like. So from here, I want it to maintain a cylinder shape. So it's still soft, so when I put it in the fridge and I try to refrigerate it like that, it's going to flatten out. And we'll end up with like a flat side and a round side on the top, which I kind of don't want. So I'll take this and I can take a clothespin or something and I can hang it from the fridge like this. So it'll start to harden and it won't have like a flat side. The only problem is the butter will kind of start to go down the bottom. So about halfway through I'll flip it and it should even out. So I'll go throw this in the fridge. In the meantime, I'll throw this in the fridge how about we go ahead and start getting dressed? We'll come back out, and then I have recipes. I'll hand you out recipes. We'll wash our hands, and we can move right into the lab and start getting set up for the day. Let me, what was this?